kind of walk me through, like, when you take off from Cincinnati and you're heading towards, Zimbabwe, or like, says you're going to do a camp or some kind of thing. What is the kind of like your usual schedule? Like, things are planned ahead of time, or are you just starting things, or you're basically come alongside and provide counsel or instruction, or provide, what's happening as you show up in a place like Portugal or Argentina?
Yeah. So with what we're doing, we really want to come alongside national leaders. Mm-hmm. So we're not really a top-down structure. It's very much a network. And each leader has their own strengths, their own weaknesses, their own opportunities, and they're all doing different things.
Right.
There's
not cookie cutter. You're coming in there and saying, how can we basically help?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Whitefields Community Church Mission Extra. At this time, it's a chance when we get to talk with some of our missionaries that are abroad, that have been able to come through town and visit with us. And today we have with us Isaac Nelson, who's been, how long have you been a missionary with us?
8 years.
8 years. So basically as long as I've been here on staff. So eight years. And so you work with an organization called Athletes in Action. We'll kind of get into defining what that is and where that is, and how you are working in the world and here in the United States. But then let's just kind of, who are you? And you have a unique connection to Whitefields Community Church here in Longmont.
Yeah. I grew up in Whitefield. So my dad was the founding pastor. So I remember when we were just meeting in the living room for the first time, and we were meeting downtown in a gym and having to set up every Sunday. So I always love when I get to come back and see what God has done, what he's continuing to do, and to continue to partner with Whitefields in ministry. Yeah, no,
that's so cool. And you spent some time also with Pastor Nick in Hungary, didn't you?
I did. That was a pretty pivotal time in my life, and it was cool to spend some time with him out there and seeing him in his element out there before coming out to back to the U.S.
Wow. So let's just talk about Athletes in Action. How long have you been with Athletes in Action?
Yeah, so 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I graduated college in 2017, and then went into full-time ministry with Athletes in Action after that.
And how did you get connected with Athletes in Action out of college?
Yeah, well, the global headquarters for Athletes in Action were in over 85 countries, but our global headquarters is about 15 minutes from where I went to college at Cedarville University. Okay. So I started volunteering a little bit with them while I was in school and got exposed to what they do. And really, the Lord was just kind of leading me more into it over time, and went full-time after I graduated. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, some people might not even know what is Athletes in Action. What is kind of your primary goal, mission, vision?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. So I work with Athletes in Action Global. And so we're focused on working alongside nationally led ministries in all the countries that we're in. We're a global network, so of nationally led ministries. And our mission is to build movements of multiplying disciples everywhere, in sport and through sports. And in sport would be evangelism and discipleship within sports communities. So we have chaplains and professional teams, staff on college campuses working with college athletes, and things like that. And then through sports is using sports as a bridge. So running sports events or sport clinics or match watch parties, and those are mostly with partnership through churches and local ministries, and helping them use sports in their community.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just remember, just came to my mind, I remember we had a conversation just during COVID, how you had said you had been lamenting the fact you guys can't go anywhere and do anything, but the Lord did such a thing where he brought the nations to you. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty cool thing that the Lord did. The Lord had kind of gone before us and got that started ahead of COVID, where we do stuff overseas, but I had a good friend who was doing some tutoring for a ministry that focused on ministering to refugees. And he's like, we've got 30 or 40 kids they were tutoring. Can we just do like a soccer camp for them? They would love it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And we were expecting, 30, 40 kids. And we show up the first day and there was over 150 kids that showed up. Evidently, they enjoy sports a little bit more than studying. So, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think many can relate.
Yeah. And the diversity, you don't think of Dayton, Ohio as like, it's not New York City. It's not. Right. But there was over 25 different countries represented in those 150 kids. And so that kind of and then when COVID happened and all these other programs shut down, we're like, man, these kids need opportunities to do something. And so we got permission from the city to run an outdoor soccer program, and it turned into a whole club and Bible studies, following up with the kids. It grew into so much more than we were expecting. So, yeah. Yeah,
I know. I just remember you telling a story. I'm like, that's amazing how even the Lord used that moment to just kind of, bring you the nation. I know this. I remember this happened to us in 2015 when, the whole immigrants thing happened in Hungary. Was that, Angela Merkel says in Germany, hey, anybody's a Syrian refugee, we'll take all of you. And all of these refugee camps emptied out of Turkey and stuff. Everybody's getting on boats. And one point, there's like 25,000 people coming across the Hungarian border every day. And, it was just an opportunity. We had so many people in our church in Budapest like saying, well, God's, calling me to go minister to people in the Middle East. And it's such a closed world and all this stuff. And suddenly 25,000 people a day are coming into the city and hanging out, camping at the train stations. And so it was like an opportunity for us to go down there and minister the gospel. And many people at our Bible college were out there working with these folks and also in Austria. And so, it's just amazing how the Lord in our, we sometimes have a small view of what he's wanting to accomplish. And so, and he just kind of breaks down all those barriers. That's super cool. Now you're no longer in Dayton. You're based out of Cincinnati, but you are certainly a world traveler. As I just looked through all your newsletters, you don't seem to spend much time in Cincinnati. It seems like you just got back from Zimbabwe 6 days ago. And then you've been in Indonesia, and where else have you been traveling in the past few years?
Oh, man. Yeah, so our global headquarters is outside of Dayton, Ohio. My wife and I moved to Cincinnati in February, so it's kind of a newer transition. Yeah. But with staff all over the world and my role assisting them, I probably go on about 4 international trips a year, just trying to manage, but sometimes a little more. I'm trying to think where... Portugal. I'm going to Morocco in January. I've been Argentina. So a few different places the last couple of years.
Wow, that's amazing. So kind of walk me through when you take off from Cincinnati and you're heading towards Zimbabwe. Or says you're going to do a camp or some kind of thing. What is the kind of your usual schedule? Things are planned ahead of time, or are you just starting things, or you're basically come alongside and provide counsel or instruction, or provide, what's happening as you show up in a place like Portugal or Argentina? Yeah,
so with what we're doing, we really want to come alongside national leaders. So we're not really a top-down structure. It's very much a network. And each leader has their own strengths, their own weaknesses, their own opportunities, and they're all doing different things.
Right.
There's
not cookie cutter. You're coming in there and saying, how can we basically help?
Yeah. And there will have been, if I'm going in person, there would have been a long prior conversation about what is going on, why is it strategic for me to actually go? So in Zimbabwe, it was really, it's really hard to get resources into Zimbabwe, their government situation, their tariff situation, and they had this whole initiative to use sports to plant churches in rural areas. These places they often don't even have the physical resource of the soccer ball to be able to do the sports ministry.
Yeah.
And many of them, we did training in conversational evangelism, how to run a soccer tournament, where to share the gospel in there, and then just bringing them some practical resources like Bibles for their house church. So there's always a prior conversation. They all look a little bit different based on what we're doing in that place, but an intentional focus to support them and what they see as the opportunity for sharing the gospel in their country. So definitely what we did in Zimbabwe is definitely going to look different than what we're doing in Morocco with some of the different challenges there, and just even what does it look like as the church there. But yeah, so it's really fun. I think one of the beautiful things that I get to see is just, we're all made in the image of God, but we all look different. We got different cultures, we got different languages, and so we see a lot of the beauty and diversity of God in his people. And we live in such an interesting time now where you look 100 years ago, a lot of the missionaries were coming out of Europe and the U.S., and now there's many sending nations that actually 70% of Christians are in the global south. And so
totally.
The exponential growth of missions, and to be able to partner and see, we're starting to see that kind of picture of every tribe, tongue, and nation worshiping. And so that's, with those international trips, I think that's one of the things. Like when I was just in Zimbabwe, we were working with Zimbabweans, but in our team, we had people that came from Brazil and Argentina and the Netherlands, like believers from all these different, and all bringing something, and we get to serve in unity with one another.
Yeah, I know. You're interesting you bring up that stat about how much is happening in Global South, because sadly, many of the resources still remain in the Global North. And I think it's high time for the American church, the North European church, to understand that, hey, look what's going on, and get behind it, with the wealth that we have and the resources we can pour into buying soccer balls, buying whatever it might be, that maybe that's where we're no longer the ones going, we're the ones sending, and we're the ones supporting, as Andrew Fuller with, his name just left my mind, he went off to India. He said, if you go into the pit, I will hold the rope, and maybe the Global North is the one that needs to be holding the rope right now, while the Global South is out there doing the work of the ministry. And so that's something to pray about. I've seen that stat before, and I've met a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of South Koreans. They are just killing it, and just going everywhere. And it's pretty amazing what the Lord's doing there. Now let's talk about, you are newly married to Emma. Emma. All right. So when did that happen?
We got married August 1st of 2024.
So you are not even a year into this.
So we're a little over a
year. Sorry, we're in November now.
A year and a couple months.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so year and a couple months. So how does being newly married, and how's Emma play into your world traveling, 4 international trips a year? Kind of how has that changed your dynamic as from going single to married, and just the whole married life and all of that? So
well, so we moved 3 times in our first year of marriage.
Wow.
So we had moved into my little apartment after we got married, and then we moved into a little bigger place, and then she works full time. And so she got a job in Cincinnati, and we moved down there. So the short answer is, I don't know. It's a day at a time is what it is. And trying to figure out what it looks like to be united and connected and support each other and all of this. But Yeah, it's really great. She's super supportive. She's trained as a pharmacist, and she's done medical missions in Ecuador and Guatemala, a number of different things. And she loves what she does, getting to serve veterans.
Okay. Nice.
But we're hoping that she gets to travel with me a little bit more. But it's something we're figuring out together.
Well, okay, it'd certainly be a prayer, a prayer request for our listeners and viewers and here at the church that the Lord come alongside you guys as you work together and doing all of that. That's exciting to be able to start out this way, and obviously it sounds like you're both united in that same mission.
Yeah.
And so, well, let's just talk about, as we kind of bring this to a close, let's talk about, I guess you headed to Zimbabwe, or where were you for the World Cup? You're a lot of World Cup planning that's coming up. And so this is kind of one of your big pushes, right, for Athletes in Action, is to be involved. So why the World Cup? Why is that so important to be involved with that?
Yeah, well, the last World Cup, they did a study that about 6 billion people around the world engaged with the last World Cup. And a couple things have changed in the last 4 years. One, we're just continuing to get more connected through digital tools and those expanding in different parts of the world. Two, they're actually making the World Cup bigger. They're letting more teams in now.
Wow.
So even more people, have kind of a personal investment there. And so you see with so much of the world gathering and watching the same thing at the same time, and the focus, it makes me think of Revelation 7, where every tribe, tongue, and nation is looking. And so just what a great opportunity as people all around the world are gathering. While there is some hope that certain teams win for the World Cup, ultimately we know that prize is going to pass away.
Yeah.
That tournament's going to end. It's going to pass into the history. And so it's a great opportunity for people to share about the prize that won't pass away.
Yeah.
And so we're partnering with believers. We kind of have a goal statement to utilize the World Cup to grow national ministries in 100 countries by mobilizing 10,000 what we're calling ministry champions. Because our main focus is really partnership. So a champion, it could be an athlete, it could be a coach, it could be a pastor or a church member. We're partnering with lots of different believers all over the world to help them, resource them, train them to use the World Cup as an opportunity to share the gospel and create follow-up opportunities, not be a one-stop shop kind of conversation. But hey, there's a local group of believers in my church or in this soccer group, and so we're challenging them to share the gospel with 100 people in 100 days in 100 countries, and so that 1 million people around the world will hear the gospel during next summer.
Wow, that's a great vision. I like that. That's a great. So how does a local church like Whitefields here in Longmont, Colorado, how do we get involved? What are some avenues that we can get involved in being part of that amazing mission? Yeah, so
with that vision to have nationally led ministries, every country that AIA is in is doing their own little thing. In Zimbabwe, they're doing a campaign called Love Zimbabwe, and they've got these soccer festivals they're going to do and all of those things. So the U.S. ministry of AIA is doing something called Victory Beyond the Cup, and they've created these boxes that can help any person take that box and have like a match watch party, host people in their home and engage. There's a little like cookbook where they have a recipe from each country that's in the World Cup and a little bit about the country. They've got some wristbands and things that can help you share the gospel and a little soccer ball. And they have a website set up where they have training. And so they're hoping to mobilize 10,000 churches across the U.S. to do that. So, you can check out Victory Beyond the Cup. And
where do we? So when does the World Cup come in next year?
Yeah, June 19th.
June 19th. Okay, June 19th. So when is this campaign going to kind of start?
Yeah, so it's their website's live now. I don't know off the top of my head when they deliver the kits, but you can register to receive them and start getting trained and all that.
Okay. So, we'll make sure we have those kind of links down in the description below and ways for people to, get connected that way. Of course, we'll be able to do that because we know you, and we'll just write you a note. Hey, send us the link. But so what are some things, just a couple prayer things we can be doing as a church, as people listening? What are just some things that you just say, hey, pray for us for this?
Yeah, well, I really love the point that you made about the role of the church in the global north. Because I think when I first heard that stat and how, South Korea is sending missionaries everywhere, and Brazil and all of that, there could be a temptation of like, well, they don't need us now.
Yeah.
We just need to focus. And it's like, no, the call to go is for every believer.
Yeah.
And that, the world needs the church in the global north just as much as we always have. It's just like with any sports team, we all have a role.
Right.
And we want to serve in love and unity with one another as the global church, and we all just have a different role. And so I think, I'm talking on a weekly basis with missionaries in Ukraine and Indonesia and all these places, Nepal. I mean, there's some wars that are in the news a lot, and there's some that aren't.
Knows,
but there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. And so I think just praying for those missionaries and praying personally about, man, what can we as a church in Colorado do? I have this saying of like here, near, and everywhere. Our Jerusalem, our Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
And so you guys are, I know, hitting all those buckets of the local community, the state, the region, and to the ends of the earth. But I think of just the practical needs of so many of those missionaries. Of like, I was just talking with our missionary in Nepal, and just like needing gas in the tank to go, train these pastors to go to different communities in Nepal. And just, he's trained, he's on fire. Yeah. So I think just prayers for the physical needs and the real spiritual battle that is going on in so many of these places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's a great one. Yeah. Well, that's something for you all to be praying with Isaac and Athletes in Action, and heading into the World Cup. What an amazing vision to have. 6 billion people watching that, and, having a goal of being able to speak to 1 million people for that with the gospel. And so, be praying about your role and how you can be involved here with if Whitefields is your local church, or just globally or wherever you are, just be praying about this. This is a great opportunity for us to be able to reach the nations in such an amazing way. So thanks, Isaac. I appreciate you sharing that all with us. We hope to have Emma here one day coming to visit with us at some point. But we'll be following you, and there'll be links in the description to what's happening about some of the things that we were talking about today. So many blessings to you, and we hope to see you again. God bless.